Let's talk now to Bruce Daisley, who's former European Vice President of Twitter, former UK Managing Director of YouTube. We talked to him earlier in the week about what was going on with Musk. Bruce, life in Musk world, in Trump world, moves quickly, although I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like the spectacle of, within the space of an hour, a political alliance which had seemed so potent and which was still just about intact, descending within about 60 minutes to Musk suggesting that Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. I mean, there's escalation, and then there's escalation.
Yeah, he went big straight away, didn't he? Musk achieved something yesterday that a lot of us didn't believe possible. He made returning to X quite a compelling, tempting offer for a lot of us. There were WhatsApp groups going around, people saying, you won't believe what he's just said. And people were finding their passports, reactivating their accounts to go and watch it live. It was quite compelling. And like you say, it went very quickly into a dark place. It sort of felt like day 3 of a stag do in terms of the randomness of what was happening.
What was your stag do like, Bruce? I don't remember anybody suggesting that of me and mine, but hey, I don't know. I mean, each to their own. I don't know what it was like on Twitter back in your day. But Elon Musk, I mean, do you think there's apparently going to be a phone call conversation between the two men later today? I mean, I sort of tweeted last night that don't underestimate the prospect of them having some sort of reconciliation because the two men are so quixotic. Although, I mean, it is hard to see how you wind that back. But do you think that they could reconcile?
I mean, well, it depends, doesn't it? The allegation that Elon Musk made is a pretty substantial one in terms of saying that he's in the Epstein files. The suggestion about that is more than just it's a disagreement over who didn't get their bar tab. So, yeah, I mean, look, it's highly possible. I think both of them have got a lot to lose if they allow this to descend into something else. But well, look, I suspect that Elon Musk might reach a short-term compromise, but at the heart of this, the fact that he went into such extreme allegations very quickly is a demonstration that he's just an incredibly unpredictable and often wildly unpredictable individual. A lot of us saw the images just a week ago of him in the Oval Office, and he appeared to be self-medicating to some extent in terms of the way he was carrying himself, sporting a black eye and definitely looking like he was somewhere else. And trying to predict someone who's behaving like that is just a very difficult thing. So I suspect Trump will remain with the upper hand. The replies to Elon Musk yesterday from the MAGA crowd were certainly taking Trump's side. And I suspect Musk's got more to lose if he falls out with Trump.
He's tweeted yesterday, he retweeted someone, or quote tweeted them, and said, as you might imagine, he said that he would win. He would beat Trump. If there was going to be a clash between the two men, this sort of titanic clash between these two people who have come to dominate that part of populist politics in the United States, that he would win. Do you think he would win?
But the drama of it is that it could get even messier than this. Steve Bannon, who, even though he was exited from Trump's first regime, actually has worked hard to get back into the Trump orbit. But Steve Bannon yesterday was saying maybe we need to deport this guy because he maybe entered the US illegally. And in fact, there's a lot more places this could go to. There was Trump himself was suggesting he could cancel all of Musk's contracts. Musk has got, I think, in the region of billions of dollars worth of contracts through his various companies with the US government. But being deported is probably a step further than that. And that's the challenge of this. Even though Musk has called Trump, as far as we could tell, suggested that he might be a paedophile, it's even got further to go. It's got further to go in the chaos that could ensue here. So potentially, look, the best thing for both sides is to take the heat out of the story. But if any of the unpredictability returns, I think this one could run and run.
I suppose. I mean, obviously, one of the power of the alliance between them was that you were bringing Trump's raw political energy and the energy of his movement together with Musk's wealth, for sure, pure economic wealth, but also his technological expertise and his technological abilities, in the sense that Twitter has huge abilities, we've seen, even in its weakened state since Musk took over, to not control, but certainly highly influence national conversation in the United States and around the world. We've seen that play out in our own country over the last few months, particularly with Musk's involvement in the grooming gangs debate. I suppose it's possible, isn't it, that if Musk did go to war with Trump, he changes the algorithm again, he tweaks it, this time in an anti-Trump direction, and that will be new, because Trump has basically enjoyed something of a monopoly on that ecosystem, on that information ecosystem, something that has been tilted and wired in his direction, at least for the last 12 months or so.
Yeah, for all of the toxicity that Musk himself has demonstrated in the last few months, the one thing that is unequivocal is that nothing has replaced the impact and the drama that the network that Twitter, that X represents. So no doubt, I think we've been reminded of the power of it for setting the news agenda is just peerless. Yeah, absolutely. I think what a lot of people felt throughout this whole relationship was that it was based on vibes rather than substance. Musk's philosophy, his economic philosophy at least, is quite visibly at odds with what Trump stands for. He doesn't want tariffs on China. He doesn't want the winding back of green initiatives. His overt opinions are quite at odds with the vibes that Trump gives off. So to some extent, this conflict, this clash did feel inevitable from the off. But yeah, it's a reminder that the X network remains formidable. And if he directs that, he was yesterday talking about maybe creating a centrist party that represented the middle 80% of the population. And yeah, if he turns his network to a different political philosophy, then yeah, potentially he could be the grand disruptor for the midterms and for the next presidential election.
Do you think that to some extent, Bruce, is it about personal animus and pique? I mean, you've got two very petty men, obviously. Petty is possibly two of the pettiest men who have ever lived. Unbelievably powerful, unbelievably thin-skinned in their own ways. But is it more substantial? Is it, in a sense, it feels to me as if, but maybe I'm over-extrapolating and over-interpreting and actually trying to impose too much logic on Musk. Because there's a world where you could just sort of see, well, he kind of woken up. He's woken up to the fact that actually Trump's politics and Musk's politics are actually wildly divergent in most ways. What Musk wanted and what Trump was offering was completely at variance. I mean, Musk certainly did not want tariffs on Chinese goods, from which he imports so many components. He wanted more high-skilled immigration for his companies. He didn't want to see the international economic order upended, an international economic order which, by definition, as the world's wealthiest man, or almost wealthiest man perhaps, no one has benefited from more. And he wanted, the thing that he seems to care about most, is reducing the national deficit and the national debt. And Trump, on every single one of those things, wanted or was doing something else. And it's like he's just woken up.
Yeah, the confusing part about it is that obviously those issues are quite substantial. They've been well established. Musk, in fact, he's never shied from putting his opinions on record. And he's overtly said that the things he's said he's in favour of, which makes yesterday's escalation seem even stranger, because effectively what we're to take from yesterday's interplay was that he'd spent $250 million getting a man elected who he seemed to know was in the Epstein files. And it just seemed like a strange articulation of exactly what you'd supported and how knowingly you'd supported it. So yeah, it's very difficult based on everything that happened yesterday, then the substance of what happened yesterday, to see that they can reach an accommodation, to see that they can reach a sense that actually Musk's not going to say anything else, and Trump will go back to supporting Musk's businesses. It's going to be an interesting one to see how it plays out, because yesterday was compelling. You couldn't stop refreshing your timeline. You wanted to see what happened next, with the added complexity that a lot of Trump's own posts
I was going to say,
on his own social
Bruce, that's exactly what I was going to say. Just finally, isn't actually one of the striking things, and maybe this will continue. Again, basically, I mean, and this would be very different from even a few years ago. The fact that Trump was posting on his own social media site, his own version of Twitter, if you like, which he set up when he was expelled from Twitter, Truth Social. And then obviously Musk was posting on X. It sort of tells you something about the splintering of that ecosystem, doesn't it? I mean, it wasn't so long ago when Twitter, as was, pretty much had a monopoly, like when you were there, on microblogging, to use a sort of slightly archaic term for it now. And now you've got, it's not just on the right, you've got Blue Sky, you've got Threads, you've got all this kind of multiplicity of different sources. That conversation, one of the things that sort of was crystallized last night, has become more and more fragmented, even quite recently in the tech space.
Yeah, although what I will say is that with the exception of Trump, I don't think we've seen any platform establish any degree of replication or substitution. I don't think that Blue Sky has got, or Threads has got, a compelling need for you to go there. They broadly exist as the anti-X. They broadly exist as people who just cannot stomach the idea of using a platform owned by Elon Musk. Trump being on his own platform is this weird anomaly, because the love-in with Musk and Trump never quite brought Trump back to the platform. He posts, but only one post in every 200. They're mainly big sort of HQ posted things about his campaign. They're not necessarily him in the cut and thrust of daily discourse. So yeah, broadly, I think X is still unchallenged. But yeah, the weird thing yesterday was that you weren't necessarily able to see what Trump was replying, because his replies were either coming in the Oval Office while he was with the German Chancellor, or they were coming, being cross-posted from his Truth Social.
Bruce Daisley there, former European Vice President of Twitter, who knows a thing or two about how Elon Musk has changed that platform.